Welcome back to the deep dive. Um, Today, our mission, it's really focused entirely on, well, what happens after the big exhibition.
Exactly. We're zoning in on EMO Hannover 2025.
Right. And specifically, we're talking directly to you, John. You were there, you put in the time, got those crucial contacts from the machine tool show.
Yeah, EMO. I mean, that's where the serious global players connect, isn't it? They're looking for partners, really, not just, buying a machine off the shelf. So you've got this stack of promising leads. But here's the pivot, the inevitable one. How do you actually turn that buzz, those handshakes, into, well, solid long-term business, real growth overseas?
That's the core of it. We're past the flashy booth demos now. This is the heavy lifting part, the conversion. And our source material, it offers this really interesting, quite potent strategic path. It's rooted in some classical thinking, actually.
It is. And the key insight we've pulled out really defines this whole follow-up period. It's about moving strategically from hang, which means persistence, stability, 恆之小過, which translates more like minor breakthroughs, or maybe prudence in action.
Hang and xiaoguo. So it sounds less like a mad dash and more like a rhythm.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about one giant sales push right out of the gate. It's methodical.
First stabilize, then advance.
Exactly. Build that genuine trust first. You have to lay the groundwork. And then, only then, do you start deploying these smaller, maybe clever, flexible tactics to actually, secure those initial deals.
Especially in a market like Germany, right? Quality focused, demanding.
Yeah.
They want to see that reliability, that staying power.
Absolutely. Deep-seated reliability is key there.
Okay, so let's really spend some time on that foundation first. This hang principle. Persistence. You've just made a huge investment in EMO, John. I imagine the pressure is intense to get those contracts signed, like yesterday.
Oh, definitely.
So why prioritize this sort of slow, patient stability right now? Why not just go all out on the follow-up?
Well, it's a really important question, isn't it? Especially considering frankly, the cost of being at a show like EMO. But the fascinating thing here is how hang kind of dictates the pace.
How so?
If you rush, you risk damaging that fragile trust you just started building. In these high-value sectors like precision machine tools, stability, it's not just a vague concept. It means real consistency.
Across what, specifically?
Across, well, three things mainly. Your attitude, your technology, and your service. Consistency in all three.
So, okay, we're not just talking about sending the same spec sheet every time.
Yeah.
What does hang actually look like in, say, the day-to-day operations over the next few months?
It could be things like really standardized response times. A detailed technical question comes in. You answer it thoroughly within, say, 48 hours. Every single time.
Reliability?
Yes. Or maybe it's having a consistent point of contact for that client. Even if you have to juggle things internally, they feel that stability from their side. It shows you're a serious institutional partner, not just, some volatile outfit chasing the next deal.
The source material had that great analogy, didn't it? Like practicing a musical instrument.
Spot on. You don't become a virtuoso overnight, right?
No.
It's the small, consistent effort, day in, day out. That's what builds up into something that looks like real professionalism, real stability.
And for a sophisticated buyer, maybe in Europe, that demonstrated long-term view is probably worth more than just a flashy initial pitch.
Way more valuable. So the psychological takeaway here, John, is really about patience. Don't let the inevitable bumps, a prospect goes quiet for a week, or a competitor throws in a lowball quote, don't let that derail you from the main goal.
Which is establishing that permanence.
Exactly. Hang is that commitment. It's about endurance.
Right.
So once you've laid that foundation of persistence, and we could be talking weeks, maybe even a couple of months of just demonstrating that reliable consistency, then the strategy starts to shift. That's where xiaoguo, the minor breakthroughs, comes in.
Okay, so we shift gears from endurance, being the steady rock, to something more, agile. What does a minor breakthrough actually mean in a complex B2B sales cycle like this?
Yeah, agile is a good word. It's about being flexible, applying your knowledge cleverly, seizing these small, subtle opportunities. It's definitely not about suddenly making big, reckless moves or, sending the massive 50-page brochure hoping something sticks.
Less brute force, more finesse.
Precisely. It's about using those maybe softer skills you developed during the steady hang phase. There's a key phrase in the source that really captures it. Taiwan cornisa.
Okay, what does that mean?
It translates roughly to gaining opportunities while tasting wine and appreciating flowers.
Ah, So it suggests the breakthroughs might happen outside the formal meeting room, more relational.
Absolutely. It's often in those less transactional moments. Think back to EMO, John, that specific chat you had with a potential client by the machine. Did they mention one particular, maybe a niche frustration they have with their current setup?
Okay, yeah.
A minor breakthrough, a Xiaoguo tactic, might be creating, say, just a quick, customized 3-minute video demo, but it only addresses that single, unique pain point they mentioned.
Instead of the generic sales pitch for the whole product line.
Exactly. It's like a surgical strike of relevance. You show you were listening, you understand their specific world.
So the success comes from those subtle details that really land, that resonate, rather than just overwhelming them with data or hard selling. It's finding that one small, clever thing that makes you stand out.
You got it. And the synthesis, the way these two ideas work together, is summed up as hu konglo.
Which means?
Persistence, heng, is the foundation. Minor breakthroughs, xiaoguo, are the tactics you use on top of that foundation. So you're stable in your core approach in building the relationship. But you're smart, flexible, adaptable in the actual interactions and the details.
Okay, I think we get the philosophy. Heng for stability, xiaoguo for the clever moves. But how do we translate this into, like, a practical plan for the next 90 days? Something concrete for John.
Right, theory to practice. And the source material is actually brilliant here. It lays out a very clear 4-stage cycle for turning those emo leads into actual contracts.
And it predicts where things might get stuck, right? Where the resistance usually pops up.
Exactly. It anticipates the friction points. So let's walk through these 4 phases, starting right now, basically immediately after the show.
Okay, phase 1, internal strengthening, the source calls it. Creo. Strengthen muscles before soaring. Sounds like prep work.
It's all about internal discipline. Seriously, before you even think about sending that first big follow-up email, the absolute first step is triage. Every single contact from emo.
High, medium, low priority.
Yep, gotta sort them immediately. Then dedicate maybe the next 72 hours purely to standardization. Get your house in order.
What kind of standardization?
Everything you'll use for follow-up. Technical documents, quote templates, maybe even scripts for initial calls or online demos. Make sure they're all consistent, error-free, professionally translated if needed.
So don't let messy internal processes kill the momentum you just paid a lot for at the show.
Precisely, John. Nail that internal process first. Okay, then you move into phase 2, smooth follow-up. The source uses the image, foo, calm seas. Things seem to be going well.
Communication is flowing, maybe the initial responses are positive, enthusiastic even.
Yeah, and that feels great. But here's the hidden danger. Complacency.
Just because the conversation is smooth doesn't mean a deal is closing.
Not at all. That initial heat, that buzz from the show, it can fade really fast once that prospect gets back to their office, their inbox, their own internal meetings and bureaucracy.
Right.
So your job here is, yes, maintain that steady hang presence, but crucially, use xiaoguo, use those subtle tactics to push for concrete next steps. Don't let it just drift.
We need actual scheduled actions, not just vague promises like let's connect next week.
You absolutely do. Use this calm seas period proactively. Set firm deadlines, both for yourself and, politely, for the client. We'll get you that detailed quote by Friday EOD, or can we lock in Tuesday at 10 a.m. your time for that live spindle test demo?
Prevent the drift. Keep the momentum.
Keep the momentum, exactly. Otherwise, it just vanishes into that corporate black hole of internal review.
Okay, but even if phase 2 goes smoothly, it sounds like things almost inevitably hit a snag. Which brings us to the big challenge, phase 3, the mid-cycle resistance, where the source says, "Sohei effort unsuccessful." This sounds like where deals often go to die.
This is the make or break point for many deals, absolutely. The resistance usually comes from outside your initial contact point. It could be competitors making a move, sudden internal budget freezes on their end, unexpected logistical problems.
Or technical hurdles.
Yeah.
Especially exporting complex machinery to, say, the EU.
Oh, definitely. This is often where the real technical nitty-gritty comes up. Things you might not have fully clarified at the booth. Full EU compliance, CE marking validation for maybe a newer model line you showed.
Specific power requirements for their region.
Exactly. Voltage stability, phase requirements, things that seem minor but can instantly stall a deal if their compliance or engineering department flags it. If you haven't anticipated these, prepared for them, the conversation can just hit a wall.
So the advice is to be proactive here. Try and figure out their hurdles before they raise them.
Yes. You need to try and identify who the key stakeholders are beyond your initial contact. what their likely concerns or decision criteria are, and then you prepare tailored counterproposals. You need answers ready.
So how do you handle that resistance without just caving on price? Let's say they come back and say, your competitor is 15% cheaper. How does Xiaoguo, that flexibility, help here?
Good question. It's not necessarily about just slashing your price. Xiaoguo here means changing the shape of the deal, offering flexibility in other ways.
Like what?
Maybe instead of a big discount, you offer a small, highly tailored trial order of just one unit, but with an unusually fast delivery promise. Or perhaps you offer a flexible payment schedule. Maybe defer the final 10% payment for 120 days, interest-free, but make it contingent on them completing a positive performance review.
Ah, so you're using flexibility, that Xiaoguo, to navigate around the sticking point, not just giving ground.
Exactly. You're overcoming the rigidity of that specific objection with smart adaptability.
Okay, so you navigate the resistance, hopefully. Which leads us finally to phase 4, confirmation and celebration. The source calls this ear-moving, doubt-bringing celebration. Sounds like the finish line.
It is. The doubts have been cleared up. The conditions are met. You're getting positive signals. Confirmation feels imminent. John, the absolute most critical thing here, formalize it immediately.
Don't just rely on a verbal yes or a handshake deal.
Absolutely not. Not at this stage. Get it down on paper. A clear letter of intent, LOI, is great, or a detailed preliminary contract. Outline the key milestones, the payment terms, who's responsible for what. Lock it in.
Solidify the commitment while the momentum is in.
Yes. And then what happens internally during this phase 4?
Good point. What's the focus back at HQ?
We shift immediately back to hang. Discipline. Stability. Your internal teams, manufacturing, logistics, service, they need to be absolutely ready for rapid, high-quality execution the moment that ink is dry.
Because the worst thing would be to win the deal and then mess up the delivery or installation.
That would completely undermine all the trust you just spent months building. So yeah, the celebration should be brief, followed by really diligent, flawless execution. That's hang in action post-sale.
So, John, when you look at the whole arc, the overall trajectory for your post-EMO efforts, it really should be one of, let's say, measured growth. It's about recognizing the real value of those relationships you initiated, and that blend, that combination of Heng's disciplined patience with Xiaoguo's smart agility.
Yeah.
That's really the key, isn't it? Especially for succeeding in these demanding, high-value international markets.
All right, so let's make this super practical. A checklist your team can literally start using, say, Monday morning. Let's distill those 4 phases down into immediate to-dos.
Okay, let's do it. Immediate action. Phase 1. Get that contact list triaged high, medium, low within, say, 72 hours max. Then send out those thank you notes, but make them customized. Reference a specific conversation, a technical point you discussed, something personal from the show floor. That's Xiaoguo right at the start showing you paid attention. Makes sense. Short-term action. Phase 2. Start scheduling concrete next steps. Don't leave it vague. Aim for visits, live online demos, specific dates for quotes, and communicate those clear timelines. Internally, make sure the tech teams are prepped and ready to deliver consistently on what sales is promising. That's the hang part.
Spot on. Risk management. Phase 3. This is crucial. Before the client brings up potential roadblocks, try to proactively ask about them. What's their internal decision process? Any specific certification needs, budget approval timelines, financial hurdles, and have those alternative solutions we talked about, like trial orders or flexible payment terms already drafted, ready to go if needed. Be prepared.
Okay, and closing action, phase 4. The moment you get that verbal agreement, that yes, move immediately to formalize it, use an LOI, a clear MU, something documented, get the commitment locked down. And simultaneously ensure your internal operations, manufacturing, shipping are fully briefed and ready for fast, smooth execution. No delays.
I think the big takeaway here, John, the guiding principle really, is remembering you're building a long-term reputation, especially in a quality-obsessed market like Germany. That consistent, detailed follow-up, the hang, it's ultimately much more powerful than just a huge initial sales push. Slow and steady really does win this race.
It really does. And maybe one final thought to leave you with, connecting this back to the bigger picture. We've talked a lot about trust, about detail, about blending that stability of hang with the smart flexibility of Xiaoguo.
Right.
So thinking about phase 4, that confirmation stage, could there be some small, perhaps unexpected service surprise you could add? Something beyond what's strictly in the contract?
Something that doesn't just complete the transaction, but really cements the relationship for the long haul? Precisely. What small, thoughtful gesture could you make right at that point? Maybe it's offering an extra, extended on-site training session for their operators. Or perhaps a unique first batch discount on some specialized maintenance parts they'll eventually need. Something that shows you're invested in their success after the sale.
That act of, maybe, measured generosity.
Exactly. That's the ultimate expression, perhaps, of blending stability, with that smart human flexibility, Xiaoguo. Something unexpected but valuable, that's something to really mull over, I think.